هو الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يعلم ما يلج في الأرض وما يخرج منها وما ينزل من السماء وما يعرج فيها وهو معكم أينما كنتم والله بما تعملون بصير.
We begin by praising Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, and we ask for His forgiveness. And we take refuge with Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil consequence of our evil actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, there is none to misguide, and whomsoever Allah leaves to go astray, there is none to guide. And I testify that indeed Allah alone is worthy of worship, and that Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, is the servant of Allah and His final messenger. Before we actually answer the question of today's lecture, is there a God? It's the question. Is there a God? It might be useful to explore the meaning of some words. So the first thing that we would like to ask is, what is a God? Actually, I'd like to ask you that question. What is a God? I'm not asking you what is the God. I'm asking, what is a God? What makes something a God? So there you go, it's a question. Question needs an answer. You can sit here all night. So you can try and answer my question. What is, if you don't answer me, I'll just pick on people and say, you give me something. So either you can volunteer, right, and you can put your hand up and give me, yeah, go on sister, yes.
Someone who's created the universe?
Okay, I specifically said, although Jazakallah khair for that, and very courageous for, being the first person, but I did specifically say, I didn't want to know what is the God. Yeah, didn't I say that? I want to know what is a God. So, for example, did Ganesh create the universe? Do Hindus believe that Ganesh created the universe? Huh? No? No. I mean, he didn't. They don't, right? Or, Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Do they believe that she created the universe? No. Okay, but she's still a goddess, and Krishna or whoever, or Ganesh is still a god. So, I'm not asking for a definition of the creator. I'm asking, what is a God, not the God. Yes, sister?
Something you worship.
Okay, something that you worship, or something that is worshipped. Okay, that's a good start. That's a very good start. Still not enough, though. We want something else. What we want to know, okay, is why do people worship things then? It's very important. Why do people worship things? Why do they worship these gods? Come on, everyone. Good. First brother. Amazing. Yeah, go on. Okay. So they believe in a higher being than themselves. Right? Some people may imagine that David Beckham is a higher being than themselves. Actually, some people might worship David Beckham, but certainly they might believe he's superior in some things. But it's still, okay, so, all you've made now is, we've gone back a bit and we've answered, or we've gone back to what is a God. It's something that people believe is a higher being. But we've moved on a bit because the sister, alhamdulillah, mashallah, she said something which quite rightly, it's something that people worship. So now we want to explore, why do people worship things? What's worship all about? What does it involve, worship?
Because the people think God can do anything and they give us everything.
Good. That's very good. Okay, excellent. people worship these gods because they think that those gods can give them something. They think that by worshipping these things, they can get something from those gods. So they imagine that by worshipping this thing, or they believe that this God can give them what they want and what they need. So, a God is something that people believe can give them what they want and what they need. That's what a God is. Right? Okay? Now, often in religions, people have different gods for different things. Right? So in some religions, you will find that they have a particular God that if you're fighting a war and you want to win, then you worship the god of war. Right? Like Mars, for example, originally was a god of war. Right? Mars is one of the gods of war of the ancient Greeks. Okay? And by the way, could everyone please turn their mobile phones off or put them on silent? The brother forgot to mention that. Yeah. Or for example, if you want the rain to fall, they worship the rain god. If they, want someone to love them, they might worship the god or goddess of love. Right? So people often in some religions, they have different gods for different things. They worship this god, and they think that by worshipping it, they're going to get what they want and get what they need. I used to be a Roman Catholic. In the Roman Catholic faith, they had different saints for different things. The patron saint of travel, the patron saint of art. If you lost something, they used to tell us, if you've lost something, pray to Saint Anthony and he'll help you find it. He was the saint of lost things. Okay? So, it's the same, really. There's no difference from praying to saints or praying to... Because at the end of the day, when they pray, whatever you pray to, whatever you worship, you think that that thing, by worshipping and praying and sacrificing and serving that God, that's how you will get what you want and what you need. And usually there is a set of rituals, a set of functions. It may be prayer, it may be sacrifice, it may be giving offerings, and these things can reach extremes, including, for example, human sacrifice. In some religions, humans were sacrificed to these gods. Like the Aztecs, for example, they used to practice human sacrifice. So this is the religion. This is the religion, the worship of these gods is the ritualized behavior. The things that people do in order to get what they want from those gods. Yeah? Okay? So these are the gods, and this is the religion. This is the worship of those gods. Right? Okay. So this is what a god is. A god is what people believe is going to give them what they want and what they need. And so people worship those gods, and they pray to them, sacrifice to them, and so on and so forth. So if we think, now let's go back and answer our question. Is there a God? Right. Well, no one could deny that there's not only a God, there are actually probably countless millions of gods. Because whatever people put their faith in and their hope in and their trust in, whatever people believe is going to give them what they want and what they need, that's their God. So everybody has a God of some degree or another, because everybody puts their faith. And these gods are not always idols. They're not always saints. They're not always, people or things. Often these gods can also be ideas. They can be concepts. Because people put their faith and trust in many different things. Not only idols and saints and prophets and so on and so forth. No, they also put their faith and trust in ideologies, communism, science. Right? So these also can be gods. Let me give you an example. You see, I myself, as you've heard, I was brought up in, although you might not know that now, but if you met me 20 years ago, you'd have no doubt from what sort of background I came from. So, as the brother mentioned in the introduction, I was sent to a Roman Catholic monastic boarding school, a place called Ampleforth College. Ampleforth College is like the Catholic version of Eton. It is the top Roman Catholic boarding school. My mother had actually, written me down to go there even before I was born. So she had no doubt about where I was going to go, Ampleforth College. Okay, and it was a monastic boarding school, so it was run by monks. Now, my mother, my parents, my dad, to tell you the truth, my dad's pretty chilled out, but I mean, my dad, his family have for generations been in the colonial service. So my dad himself was a colonial administrator in Tanzania, which is where I was born. My grandfather was a high court judge in Bombay, and that's as far back as I know. But so my dad's family have been in the colonial service, and my mum actually is Polish, but she was brought up in Kenya, and she's more English than English people, and she's very, very concerned with the etiquettes and the manners of being very correct. And so I was brought up very strictly, not just as a Catholic, but, my mum was not very strict about her Catholicism. I suppose she expected that I would get that from the school. But she was very strict about our manners, how we should behave, that we should use the right words. Okay, my dad taught me the etiquettes of how to dress, for example. Very specific rules about dress. And, I can look at someone straight away until today, and I could know how well brought up that person is or badly brought up they are by looking at the way they're dressed, by looking at the type of shoes that they wear. For example, my dad would teach me, you never wear brown shoes with black. Oh dear. You never wear brown shoes with, you don't. It's just, he said, Ant, you just don't do that. It's just not done. What's the correct way to wear your tie? What was the correct way to put your handkerchief in your pocket? You never fold your handkerchief in the pocket. Never. They used to say it's non-you. It's just, meaning it is not the right way to do things. These are the type of details. And as for eating, the dinner was a, sort of major ritual. And even down to how do you eat your bread roll? Even to how you eat your bread roll. Everything had to be correct. You had to take a bit of butter from the butter dish with the knife that was the butter dish knife, and then put it on your side plate, and then return that knife to the butter dish, and then take your own personal butter knife. Which is, that's because it's the small one, right? And then you break your bread roll, not in the air, but on the plate. And you take a piece and butter that piece of bread roll on the plate, and then lift it to your mouth and eat it. Woe betide the one who gets a bit of butter, 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 and so this, and what is all of this about? It's because they believe that by following these rituals, and that's what it is, they're a type of rituals. It's a type of, in fact, a type of religion. Because they believe that by following these rituals, you will be identified as being a member of